I will deliver optimism, opportunity, and hope. Speaking of hope, Hope Hicks is here. Where's Hope Hicks? Where's Hope Hicks? The great Hope Hicks.
Former member of Trump's inner circle, Hope Hicks, has testified before the January 6th committee in a transcribed interview. I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and Hope Hicks was with Trump throughout most of his term as president. I know it feels like forever ago, but if you'll recall, there was a lot of turnover in the Trump administration, so she's a bit of a standout in that way. Hicks was able to maintain a position close to Trump throughout his presidency, even as she took some time away from the administration to work for Fox News briefly. She finally resigned from the Trump team within a week following the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. Now, Hicks has testified with the January 6th committee, a move that experts say alludes to the crumbling of Trump's inner circle, or rather his former inner circle. Other members have testified before the committee, including Trump's own daughter and son-in-law. Now, Hope Hicks, who just turned 34 last week, is pretty young for a woman in her position. She grew up in Connecticut, the rich part of Connecticut, played lacrosse, modeled, and went on to earn a BA in English. She started working in public relations and communications, eventually landing a job with the Trump Organization in 2014, working with Ivanka Trump on her fashion line. Within just a few months, she found herself working directly for Donald Trump, and the following year, when she was just 26 years old, Trump asked her to be the press secretary for his potential presidential run. During the 2019 Mueller investigation, Hicks was cited nearly 200 times in the report. However, when she had to testify on behalf of the administration in regard to her role within it, the administration was able to successfully block any meaningful testimony from her. Leading up to her departure from the administration, the New York Times reported that Hicks was amongst a faction within the White House that doubted Trump's claims of election fraud. Citing revelations from Susan Glasser's book, The Divider: Trump in the White House, 2017 to 2021, the Times reported that Hicks tried to advise Trump to move on from the lost election. To that suggestion, Trump proclaimed, "Well, Hope doesn't believe in me." To which she responded, "No, I don't. Nobody's convinced me otherwise." For someone who oversaw Trump's press releases, including his tweets leading up to and during his time as president, that feels like a strange moment for someone like Hope Hicks to grow a conscience. I don't need to remind you how vile and damaging his incessant tweets were, the tweets that Trump would often dictate to Hicks. Not only that, but she didn't just work at Fox News, she was the chief communications officer and executive vice president there. She played a critical role in the equally vile and damaging rhetoric that was coming out of the network during the Trump years. The overlap between the White House and the so-called news network more than suggests a conflict of interest and more than explains the sycophantic Trumpism that has come to define the network. Trump continues to call the January 6th investigation a witch hunt, implying that the committee is deliberately seeking out people who would make the former president look bad or complicit or guilty in its effort to craft a specific narrative. Still, the committee has interviewed a significant number of Republicans, including people who were or are still loyal to Trump, his presidential legacy, and the Republican Party. Hope Hicks is just the latest in a long line of former or current Trump allies taking part in the investigation. Now, whether any of them are doing so as a matter of self-preservation or as a matter of retribution is anyone's guess, but it doesn't matter as long as the testimony is there, and in this particular case, Hicks can no longer cite executive privilege as she has done in the past. So not to make this about me, but Hope Hicks as an entity is weird for me. Her birthday is just a few days before mine. Both of us were born in 1988. She turned 34 last week, and as of recording this, I'm turning 34 tomorrow. Both of us grew up in Connecticut, although she grew up in a much richer part of Connecticut than from where I was born, and she was born into wealth and affluence. We both have BAs in English, but where I eventually went on to grad school, she went on to work for the Trump org. And yet, despite that very, very small handful of similarities, our life paths could not have been more divergent. The reason I bring any of this up is that I think it speaks not only to the diversity of lives lived in this country, but to the myriad of ways that people's lives can be dictated to them as a matter of circumstance. When we talk about privilege in the United States specifically, these are the kinds of things that I think about. Now, just to clarify, I'm not saying that I want her life, nor am I saying that I'm unhappy with mine. I also understand that my life is more privileged than many others. It's all a matter of perspective, and when comparing individuals' entire lives, it's always a matter of apples and oranges. There are simply too many variables that contribute to how someone's life plays out, whether those variables are within one's control or not. That's why, for instance, it's very frustrating and difficult for lawmakers to make broad, sweeping laws for people they can't relate to. And that's why personal stories are so impactful when it comes to understanding issues surrounding public policy. But you have to wonder, did someone like Hope Hicks, a millennial who was blessed with beauty, wealth, and access, ever have the chance to be something else? The answer is, of course she did. But would she have wanted to be? What was it in her that told her that it was okay to be complicit in Donald Trump's horrific agenda? Maybe it was the way she was raised and the people she grew up around. What's within the realm of normalcy for someone like Hope Hicks is not what's considered normal for someone like me. Maybe it was the allure of achieving her own affluent status and her own wealth, which to her credit she has done. Maybe she set upon or was set upon a path and she didn't question it until there was an insurrection at our Capitol. We don't know a whole lot about Hope Hicks. We don't know her personality. We don't know her motives, her values, or her aspirations. We do know that, at least according to the accounts of others, she did speak out against Trump in the end. We don't know, however, how she felt about it after the fact, and maybe ultimately it doesn't matter. Maybe her stint with Trump will just be a small chapter in her life, a chapter that served as a stepping stone to whatever else Hope Hicks will go on to achieve. But how does one reckon with the damage one oversaw, implemented, and excused? Does the insurrection bear any weight on someone like Hope Hicks' shoulders? And will any of that come out in the testimony she gave to the January 6th committee? Perhaps we will find out one day. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this content, please like and subscribe, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you.